Hello, I'm the Svitek 360 Creative Coach, and in this episode, I want to talk about a very key point when you're dealing with negotiations or pitch meetings. And this advice comes from Adam Grant. I heard it most recently with him and Jay Shetty. However, it's a piece of advice that I've heard in different iterations from other people in my life. And so that's why I know when you hear something over and over, you're like, okay, there's got to be a bit of truth to it. Not always, but in this case, I would say so. Now, before I get into it, I would like to take the opportunity to invite you to subscribe if you haven't already. That way you get all the various episodes and lessons that I put out right when I put them out. Thank you if you just did, and thank you if you already were. It truly does mean a lot to me, so I hope it does to you. So let's talk about this. When you're pitching something or you're negotiating something like a pay raise or a contract, whatever the case may be, right? When two parties are coming together and they have to meet in the middle, so to speak, the big issue that you can run into is you put down too many things that you want. So I'm going to speak about it as if I'm the party that's pitching something, right? And the problem with putting down too many things is then it becomes a lot easier for someone to say no, because they can pick out a smaller item on that list and be like, for this reason, we're not going to go with it. As opposed to if you just focus on the let's say 2 to 3 main things that are like the strongest and what you're really after, then if they say no, well, it was because it was never a right fit for them. Most people's natural inclination is to kind of dismiss something and say no. And, without getting kind of too deep into politics, we do see this as far as legislation goes. I think a lot of legislation just has all these things kind of crammed in because people are trying to move fast. And then nothing really gets done because someone's able to be like, well, we can't pass it because of this item. And it's like, well, the rest of the bill is fine except for this item and so forth, right? And so you want to give people as far few excuses to say no as you can. And so by providing people a long list, it negates that. Here's another example. If I'm pitching a movie, right, in terms of why this movie should be made, who it might appeal to, and so forth, really, if I make that list very specific, then great, go for it. Because then they can make that judgment off of that. But I think too often we might be, thinking, oh, if I add more things, it'll showcase that A, I've done the research, and B, that like this is a wide appealing movie and everyone's going to want this. And it kind of works against you. They might be like, well, okay, you've highlighted that this movie might be great for Gen Z. Well, Gen Z is not really going to the movies, and so for that reason, we're going to say no. And they won't say that that's the reason they're saying no, but that's how they, the person justifies it in their head. And then you're left with a no. So the more succinct and concise in terms of why something appeals or why you want something or why it works and so forth, what you need to get done, do that. Right? Don't include like if you're negotiating a contract, it can be a pay raise or something like that. Don't go in with too many demands of like your wants. Like maybe include 1 or 2 of them if you really have to, but go in specifically with what you really, really want to get out of the negotiation, right? Because what end up, as far as like a pay raise or a negotiation, what might end up happening is like, they'll be like, okay, cool. Yes to items 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, no to 2 and 7. And it's like, well, 2 and 7 might be the ones that you really wanted. And then you're left with all the kind of fine, superfluous ones that were like cool, but you didn't really need those as much as you needed 2 and 7. So, that's how I tend to look at it. That's what I would recommend to you. Use some caution with it. Obviously, everything's case specific. So take the advice with a grain of salt. But nonetheless, that is the general principle of which I try to operate under, and that has worked for Adam Grant. And by the way, Adam Grant, if you don't know, a very, very smart business mind, and so forth. Just the list of accolades is incredible. He recently came out with a book called Think Again. He's been a New York Times bestseller a number of times, among other things. So, really incredible mind. Anyway, that's the advice I have for you. Is when negotiating or pitching something, be as concise and specific as you can, because it will yield better results. So thank you for listening. If you have any questions or thoughts of your own, please share them down in the comment section or hit me up on social media at Svitek. I would love to chat with you. Likewise, if you think this episode might be of benefit to somebody in your life, please share it with them. I certainly would appreciate it, as I appreciate you, and hope to see you next time.